MotoGP is back on Brazilian soil for the first time in over 2 decades, with round 2 in 2026 coming from the Autodromo International Airport Centre. First on the calendar back in 1987, close to a city blending cool urban vibes with lush green spaces. A sellout crowd is revved up for a high-octane Super Sunday. Who will claim Grand Prix glory in Goiânia? It's time to race in MotoGP. It's a very good morning to you wherever you're watching in the world. Good morning and a warm welcome from Brazil. Welcome from South America, as we are in the world's 5th largest nation for the first time since 2004. The first Grand Prix here in Goiânia since 1989. 37 long years the fans have had to wait for Grand Prix motorcycle racing in this part of the world. Grand Prix day is here, with Friday and Saturday ready to go by. Well, today's sellout crowd are in for some spectacle. They are in for some treat, aren't they? As they will hope to see Diogo Moreira fighting close to the front as he becomes the first Brazilian rider to race in front of his home crowd since that Rio Grand Prix, all the way back in 2004. A MotoGP race on that occasion won by Japan's Makoto Kimada. Marc Marquez took his first victory of 2026, the first victory of the defence of his 7th World Championship crown in yesterday's sprint. What a battle he had with pole sitter Fabio Di Gianantonio. The MotoGP field will go over what's going to feel like a very long and demanding 31-lap Grand Prix at 3 p.m. local time here in Brazil. But as always, getting our race action underway, and let's hope it is going to be a cracker. Let's hope it's going to be anywhere near as good as what we saw in our season opener in Thailand. We've had 259 Moto3 battles in history. None have finished closer than what we saw last time out. What a showdown. What a last lap fill it was between David Almanza . Oh, 3,000ths of a second was the gap that divided the two Spaniards at the end of that classic way to kick off 2026. The pair of them, though, have got a bit of work to do in this upcoming 24-lap Grand Prix of Brazil. World Championship leader Almanza going from 14th place on the grid and even further down the order. So a couple of places higher up the order is Max Quiles, 11th. For Quiles after a crash in Q2 at turn 6 yesterday. First time Quiles is going to start in his Grand Prix career outside of the top 10. Joel Esteban is on pole position for the first time in his career ahead of Valentin Perrone. Of course, the Argentinian in second place on the grid. And Akim Danish, the first Malaysian to qualify on the front row of a Moto3 Grand Prix since his compatriot Colin Pally did so 10 years ago at the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. This Moto3 kicked off 2026 in absolutely sensational fashion. What a battle it was over in Thailand. We get half the drama, half the excitement here today in Brazil. This one's going to be a barnstormer.
This is very, very difficult to call this one. Of course, a brand new circuit for everyone in Moto3, and it does feel like it really has leveled the playing field, particularly for the young chargers, and there's already a class full of them. In the front 3 rows of the grid, down to Rico Salmela in 9th place, we have 5 rookies starting on those front 3 rows of the grid. So already a little bit of a changing of the guard in Moto3. Joel Esteban on a maiden pole, but there are so many stories across those front 2 and 3 rows.
7 different nationalities in the top 10 on the grid. We have Spaniard on pole, 2 Argentinians in the top 5, and Malaysian on the front right of the grid, on Australia and Indonesia with Veda Pertama in 4th place. a Japanese rider and a Finn, a very much an international flavour to our top 10 on the grid for this afternoon's action. I'm so excited to be back in Brazil for the third time since 2004. That's the great time. Last time I was here back in Rio 22 years ago. I forgot to do the formal introductions. Of course, as always, it's Matt Byrne in the commentary box with Lewis Sotheby sat alongside. Me, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. The three of us, as always, delighted to be bringing you coverage of a Grand Prix which has been over 2 decades in the making. Joel Esteban then, on pole position for the first time in his career. 67th different rider to start a Moto3 race on pole position. His first pole, his first front row of his Grand Prix career. He did it with a 1:26.241.
He actually did a couple of laps that would have put him on pole position. He dominated that Q2 session, which of course with the upheaval through the weekend and the schedule changes, of course the qualifying session took place late yesterday evening, around about 5:30 yesterday evening, via qualifying 1, and to the front of row 4 we find Alvaro Carpe, 4th in the World Championship. You've got in mind,
yeah, he is indeed. Keeping the helmet and the gloves on, Alvaro, as he manages to maintain the focus. This is going to be a step into the unknown for everybody. What kind of a race do you think you'll see? What kind of tactics have you got?
Very interesting thing, for sure. That's for sure, because we have many things we don't know, like the drop of the tire at the end of the race. It's many laps here in a track with a lot of turns to the right, so will be interesting in that part. Also will be interesting the group, because we don't know the people will be in the group, when the tire will drop, the group, how will be. It's thing that it's impossible to know, because we never did a race here. But we are ready for all. I found a bit of speed more yesterday, because we started the weekend not very good. But we are saving a little bit the speed. I think I'm ready for this race.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Alvaro Carpe, the 18-year-old, top 5 in his last 5 Grand Prix, podium most recently in Philippine and Valencia. We just saw there. The new Indonesian start in the making, heading the second row of the grid. Vader Pertama, 5th place in Buran, the best Grand Prix result ever by an Indonesian rider. What a star the 17-year-old is of the future. Speaking of stars emerging from the Southeast Asian region, Lewis, Hakim Danish on the front row grid. More on him very, very short as we go down to Jack and Vader Pertama heading the second row.
Well, Vader, what a debut it was last time out in Thailand. I'm sure that's given you so much confidence here on the front of the second row of the grid. What's possible today?
Yeah, today also, this weekend I have a really good confidence also. I don't know, I have good feeling in this circuit, and yeah, I'm ready for the race, and I will do my best.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
It was awesome to watch, wasn't he, in Buran? Thanks, Jack. Thanks to the 17-year-old Indonesian from Honda Team Asia, Vader Pertama. I started and finished 5th over in Thailand. Certainly one to watch. He sounded very, very confident there, didn't he? Going from 4th place on the grid. Hakim Danish, only the 3rd Malaysian rider ever in Moto3, hitting the start on the front row. Finally, Corradine and Colin Powie. He looks good as well all weekend. Looks on that all KTM front row.
Yeah, 2 Asia Talent Cup champions in the front 4 places on the grid. And they start 4th and 3rd, one ahead of them in 2nd. It's Valentin Peroni. Real opportunity to lead here as the World Championship lead. He's with Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. On the podium last time out to the opening round in Thailand. Valentin, it's, I guess, home Grand Prix for you. Coming from Argentina, I'm sure you've got a lot of support here. How excited are you for this?
Yeah, I'm super excited to be close to my home with Argentina fans also here with Brazil. Well, I enjoyed it a lot this weekend, so now it's time to finish in a good position, to go to USA happy, and well, I feel strong during the weekend, so I think I can do a great race.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Tech 3 KTM rider Valentin Peroni. 3rd place he was at the checker flag in Buram. Needed that one. His first podium in 8 Grand Prix since the Balaton Park circuits in Hungary. 5 top 6 finishes last year. Certainly one to keep a close eye on in this upcoming 24-lap battle. Yusei Yamanaka, he goes from the middle of the 3rd row of the grid. 8th place for the Japanese rider, sandwiched in between Joel Kelso and Rico Salmela. 64th place he was at the checker flag in Buram after the crash early on, his worst Grand Prix finish in nigh on 3 years, which was in Jerez back in 2023. The 25th place there, the only time Yamanaka has finished lower in his Grand Prix. He starts though from the 3rd row.
3 of the riders in the front 3 rows on the top 10 on the grid came by a qualifying 1. It's a bit of an advantage when you've got that extra track time. Here is Rico Salmela, the young Finn, teammate to Peroni at Tech 3. Caught the eye at times, even if he was off the road a little too often. Back in Buram was the young Finn, ended up finishing in 19th place. Some early mistakes in the Grand Prix really did cost him, but we've already seen plenty of signs of the obvious potential that young Rico has.
Getting a real serious pre-race pep talk here from the boss. Nicky Ayo is Alvaro Carpo, who just joined us on the grid with Jack. As you can see there on these live pictures, we're 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes away from our first Grand Prix action in Brazil since 2004. Max Quiles then, well this is a bit of a novelty, a rare one for Quiles. First time he's having to start this low on a Grand Prix grid. 11th place, his hopes of a better qualifying position, not helped by a crash in Q2 yesterday at turn 6.
Interesting, cross Moto3 and Moto2 with the Aspar riders, they've been doing a lot of their work alone this weekend, so learning a new track, it's not necessarily as easy to learn a new track when you don't have other riders around you to give you some references on where to brake, the particular ways to tackle these corners, and it has taken Quiles a little longer than we expected to get up to speed, but when the red lights go out and World Championship points are up for grabs, you just know Quiles is going to be motoring forwards.
Looking at Adrian Fernandez there on that 4th row with Carpe and Quiles. There's some real Moto3 heavyweights down the grid, isn't there? This should be adding to the spectacle today when you look at World Champion leader Almanza 14, Quiles 2nd in the standings 11, Adrian Fernandez, who started to appear as a regular podium contender, he's down in a 12th place at the back of that 4th row. Could be some fireworks in this one, Lewis.
Fernandez spent much of the latter part of Q1 with stones falling out of his bike after he'd had a crash in qualifying 1, dislodged the fairing on the left-hand side, but still managed to get himself into Q2. So yeah, there are some midfield runners who are surely going to be expecting the power forwards. Is Casey O'Gorman going to be another of them? He lines up in 13th place. It was a really good Friday for the 658 Squadron Course team. Both of their riders automatically through to qualifying 2. His teammate Leo Ramastorfer into Q2 for the first time, although he does have a long lap penalty to serve in today's race.
See 5 minutes to the race start there now. World Championship leader David Almanza. What a ride, what a performance, what a debut it was on the Liquid Moly Dynamo Intact KTM for Almanza. He was a long way off though in that qualifying session late yesterday afternoon, wasn't he? 8/10 of a second he ended up behind actually Joel Esteban's pole time. That's the 127 flat. He's going to have to get really busy early on here with Quiles. And maybe wonder if Quiles can drag him through. Here is then the number 22, David Almanza, the first rider since Alexi Masbu, all the way back at Qatar in 2015 to win the opening Grand Prix in Moto3 from pole position. Maybe the first rider since Albert Arenas in 2022 to win the first two Moto3 Grand Prix of the season. He's got it all on, coming from the middle of that fifth row of the grid. He's in between Casey O'Gorman and this younger rider, Honda Team Asia's Zen Matani.
And bring up for his best qualifying so far in Moto3, first Q2 appearance for Zen Matani. He also came via qualifying one and clearly in very high spirits, as you can see there through the visor. Looking forward to his first taste of reaction in Goiânia.
I think Zen Matani was as excited as I was before the Grand Prix here when I was beginning to introduce our names before the Grand Prix. Yeah, Zen Matani looking very, very strong. Looking for his first point scoring finish in what's going to be his fifth. Grand Prix start here today in Brazil. Well, here we go then, the grid starts to clear. On the front row for the first time, Malaysians Hakim Dani. She's got great potential for a podium here this afternoon. Middle of that front row goes Valentin Peroni. Third place now, Signogna in Thailand. We're starting from pole position for the very first time with some big Moto3 heavyweights hunting him down from further down the grid. Our pole position here in Moto3 in Brazil is Spain's Joel Esteban.
24 laps of Goiânia to come in Moto3 with Joel Esteban on a maiden pole and Valentin Peroni next to him. Hakim Danish, a first front row start for him. He's ahead of Vedat Pratama, one higher than he started, of course, in Buriram. Equal career best for Marco Morelli in fifth. Brian Ariarte sixth after two crashes earlier in the weekend. Joel Kelso, he crashed in Q2 but still took seventh ahead of Yusei Yamanaka, who came through Q1. Rico Salmela completes row 3. Alvaro Carpe, another Q1 graduate, 10th ahead of Max Quiles, 11th. Career worst for him, and Adrian Fernandez 12th. O'Gorman, points leader Almanza, and Zen Matani on row 5 ahead of Guido Pini. Leo Ramastorpa, who has a long lap penalty, and Cormac Buchanan, who had a monster high side yesterday but does start 18th. Scott Ogden 19th ahead of Matteo Bertelli and Ruche Rubli. Eddie O'Shea's been battling illness this weekend. He starts 22nd ahead of Carraro, Rios and Crusades, and 25 start this weekend. And have not joined us over on the weekend. No, David Munoz, as he continues to recover from that injured femur late last year.
Speed of recovery to David Munoz then. So the field clean away for our first Sunday Grand Prix action in 22 long years. 28 degrees is the temperature. I have to say it feels a lot hotter than that when we walked over to the commentary box position. We're just a little bit in advance of the grid here, a little bit in advance of the front row. So Joel Esteban, I wonder how the nerves are, how are the butterflies. This is Grand Prix start number 29 for the 20-year-old Spaniard, low riding to level up MGA KTM. First pole position back the one Leo Ramastorpa, who's having a little trip through the long lap there just to practice his long lap incoming. Fascinating to see how Quiles and Almanza deal with their average qualifying performances yesterday. If there's one thing we know about this 3.835 kilometre, 2.388 miles Goiânia circuit, is in parts it's tight, twisty, it's a narrow racing line, it's very, very hard to make overtakes. Slipstream surely getting a slingshot out of the final corner, turn 14 on these pocket rocket Moto3 bikes to try and line up some slipstream and make a move either on the start finish straight or on the brakes at the first corner. That is going to be key. Quiles then, 11th on the grid, second place last time out in Buriram. 6 of his 10 podiums have been second. Silverstone, Aragon, Sachsenring, Brno, Misano and Buriram. farewell of Katsuyuki Sasaki, who has the highest number of second place in Moto3 history. After number 78 then of Joel Esteban, just pumping those brakes, getting some temperature into the brakes and the front tyre. It's a long old run down to the first corner here in Goiânia. So this is the moment that Brazilian fans and South American fans in this part of the world have waited such a long time for. 1989, 37 years since we last had a Grand Prix here in Goiânia. Kevin Schwantz prevailed for Suzuki in MotoGP on that occasion. Have a look then on pole position here with Joel Esteban. Front row features Valentin Pironi and the impressive Malaysian Hakim Danish. We're going to be racing very shortly here in Brazil. It's lights out and we're racing in Moto3 here in Goiânia. It's a brilliant start from that maiden pole position by Esteban. He's got the drop off Pironi, going the wrong way unfortunately from that maiden. Quiles, the killer. Well, he's gone for the killer instinct now, and he went for the juggling on his teammate Pironi, taking no prisoners at all. Friendly fire inside the Aspar garage. Pironi then immediately got himself back up into second place. Danish still looking very strong there. Quiles has gone for the car fight. You've got to be careful. So dirty and dusty offline here. Quiles is able to just roll off the throttle, not lose too much momentum, but it's a gift. Pironi now leads.
So it's all about that turn 6 as Almansa's now making a move on Morelli. It looked like Esteban was trying to pass Danish to there for 5th place. So at the moment it's chopping and changing, toing and throwing. No one really making a break in this leading group. Of course, the long straight here to the final couple of corners and the kilometre straight to turn 1 makes it so difficult to break the group.
Uriarte starting to work his way back forward. He's just climbed up into the top 10. Ninth now, ahead of Adrian Fernandez. And those flags are out in the third sector as the top group power out of turn 14. Quiles, we saw last time around, got great slipstream to blast past both Pironi and Danish. It's Leo Ramersdorfer that has gone down for 6:58 squad of course on. And just like on the last lap, Quiles with the slipstream finds himself back in the lead.
So that was either during or just after he served his long lap penalty. Look over to the left-hand side for Almansa. Where are you two going, he says. I'll quite happily take the lead.
Well, that's twice now. Quiles has had the lead and thrown it straight back. About 4 or 5 seconds later, it's now Almansa. The top two have come from 14th Almansa, 14th on the grid to lead. Quiles came from 11th on the grid. There is Ramersdorfer walking away from his clash. A little wave to the crowd. Looks like he's okay.
Coming through the right-hander at 12. That's the crash that Cruzet has had in qualifying yesterday. Monster high side. You get offline, as Matt mentioned. So easy to have that kind of accident. Ramersdorfer out of his career best qualifying.
Some bone cruncher there. For the Austrian. Let's hope he's going to be okay for next weekend's action over in Texas in Austin. Almansa, well, this is just sleek race repeat as far as Almansa and Quiles are concerned. This is exactly what we saw from the pair of them a couple of weeks ago over in Thailand. Quiles on a revenge mission here. Almansa looking to continue this sensational start to 2026. It's 6 years since Albert Arenas in 2020 won the first 2 Grand Prix. Nobody's done it since.
Danish really getting stuck into Carpe there on the way into the final corner. We saw a little bit of a feint of a move from Quiles, but understandably he doesn't want to lead onto this main straight because he will be punching the big air in the hole for everyone behind. As it is, he's riding through it, taking the lead back.
Quiles almost on the green pen on the exit pit lane now as he chops across the nose of Pironi into this downhill fast braking zone for this long right-hander. It seems like it goes on forever, doesn't it? These first couple of right-handers, and then they'll attack hard towards a real high-speed turn 3. This is really where fortune favours the brave. But be careful now, slight uphill braking zone into turn 4. It's still Almansa from Quiles. Pironi there in 3rd. Pironi still looking strong in 4th place. Head of Danish, Carpe, Esteban, the pole starter, Fernandez, Pachama and Salmani in top 10.
The gap now starting to open up behind Mitani, who's in the final points position in 15th place, to Eddie O'Shea, who's leading that second group in 16th. So the first sign of a split in this leading group, but the points finishers or point scorers as it stands all still very much together. Just on lap 5 of 24.
And without Mats there, back into winning position in 2026 already. He's winning that absolute classic to kick off Moto3 in 2026. There's never been a closer finish in Moto3 history between the top two in this Grand Prix right now. Once again, it's a story, a tale of 22 versus 28. Almanza and Quiles. Maybe a slightly tougher task with a few more riders in contention behind them. Those two were miles clear of Peroni in third place over in Thailand. Almanza's got a bit of a breather here. He had a brilliant run through 13 and 14 there. Now Almanza has broken the slipstream here. There's no way Quiles is surely going to get close enough.
Interesting to see the different lines to the chicane of 10 and 11 too. Almanza taking a bit more of a wider line, whereas Quiles looked to try and straight short line that turn 11 right-hander, and it gave Almanza a much better look at 12, and he's pulled a few metres away from Max Quiles. But of course, the long straight here down to turn 1, Almanza, no matter how hard he tries, he's going to get reeled back in again.
19 laps of that Thai Grand Prix. Almanza led 17 of them, and crucially, the last one of them is Esteban. Starting to work his way back forward. He was as long as, what, 7th or 8th early on from pole position. Now back into 4th. Lovely move that on Morelli, who's still in P5.
Morelli's trying to take that one back again as he takes that inside line, perhaps attacking and defending all into one. He's got Danish right behind him on the first of the MSI bikes. Then it's Carpe next up in 7th, and Adrian Fernandez, another rider, starting to make progress up the order on the Leopard Honda. He started in 12th, he's now up to 8th.
It's been a good lap list so far for Guido Team. He's picked up Sam Mella and O'Gorman, teaming on the Leopard Honda, and now got himself up inside the top 10. He's just behind Bader Batama, who's lost 5 places early on from 4th on the grid down to 9th spot. Pini still there in 10th place. There's a good battle lap down between him, Sam Mella and O'Gorman.
He is responding on this lap and closing in once again on Almanza. That's the battle for 3rd place then, Peroni and Esteban. So at the moment, the top 3 in this race, the same top 3 we had at the checkered flag in Burrell, although Esteban looks like he's about to change that.
Yeah, and 2 riders in the 26s on that last lap, one of them being Quiles. Almanza just about fends on Quiles, coming from a long way back there. He's Esteban with the slipstream, just nicks that inside line on Peroni. So Esteban up into 3rd place, Quiles and Esteban in 4th. The only 2 in the field on that last lap, still able to keep themselves in the 26s.
Esteban's never stood on a Grand Prix podium. He's had a best of 4 on 3 separate occasions, and he's high-sided spectacularly out of that 3rd place.
Mid-corner, going through turn 4. I think he saw a gap there. Looked like Quiles might have been a little bit offline, and just on the power, Esteban launches himself to the moon and back. That was a huge crash for the pole starter. Just as we were starting to think maybe he was going to be a big contender for the podium, he has the mother of all high sides. That was a big one for Joel Esteban. Really cost Peroni that as well, didn't he? Because I think Peroni almost had to sort of headbutt the crash bike. That really did cost Peroni some crucial time.
It's punched a massive hole in this leading group, which now Marco Morelli is filling as he moves to 3rd place. Here's a look then as he's having a think about trying to pass Quiles. He's on that tighter inside line. Just as he's trying to open the gas, it spits him into the air.
Yeah, too tight, too much lean angle for that amount of throttle. Looking back from David Almanza, Quiles was wide. Now, you could sense that Esteban was thinking, okay, well, this is now an opportunity to make that move, and just that wheel spin, and it just fired him a proper violent high side, that one. Good to see Esteban walking away, because that was a big get-off. Almanza then back in the 26s. Personal best lap of the Grand Prix for the world champion leader, 1:26.847. Morelli now up into that 3rd place. He's just done his best lap of the Grand Prix, but a 1:27.2. So his best lap still 4/10 slower than Almanza. Now then, has this given the opportunity for Almanza and Quiles to have yet another personal duel at the front? Because the Esteban drama has seen the field split now by a second back to Morelli.
Yeah, they've lost that crucial slipstream that would have towed them along that main straight. Peroni then trying to get himself back through, having passed Danish. Danish really getting beaten up on this lap. Fernandez thrown in 2, so Danish has lost a couple of places on this lap. So the onus really is on Morelli now, the second of the Aspar bikes, in 3rd place, try and tow that group back up to the leaders.
Yeah, Batama's just finding his rhythm, although he's being attacked here by Adrian Fernandez further back on the 31 bike. Batama's last lap was a 1:27.168. That's his best lap of the Grand Prix so far.
That's Pini passing Patama. He's the second of the Leopard Hondas in this group. Fernandez just up the road in 5th place. Pini's had 2 crashes of his own this weekend, so here's what was going on further back. This was Fernandez on Danish, and at the same time, Carpe was getting involved with Tatara, and that opened the door for Sam Mella to get involved.
There's been a few traffic jams to get into this Goiânia circuit. That was a traffic jam, wasn't it, here in this Moto3 battle? At the front, once again, history is repeating itself from Burram here in Brazil. It's Almanza versus Quiles. Can Almansa win his second successive Grand Prix? Quiles out for revenge big time here, isn't he? He was smarting when he lost that Grand Prix to Almansa 3 weeks ago. He thought he had it at that last corner. Almansa going super defensive on that long run down to the final third. Further down the field, Danish coming under more pressure going through turn 4 to try and find a way back to Andrew Fernandez. Fernandez is starting to get a little bit busy as well in this front group, isn't he? Up now into P5.
No real signs at the moment of already closing that gap. As long as the top two don't battle each other and perhaps save it for later on, they're going to pull clear of that group. That was Salmela versus Danish, the battle of the rookies for 6th place, and it looks like Danish has taken that one back again from the pit.
Yeah, this big sort of mid-pack Manuel, this Manuel at the back end of the top 10, is playing at the hands of likes of Morelli and Perrone. Guido Pini's starting to get his elbows out, isn't he, on the 94 Leopard Honda. And Pini's now got himself up into 8th place. Nice move that he just made on Carpe. So Pini's come from 16th on the career up into now P8. It's going to get better and better for the Italian, surely.
He's as fast as the leaders on the last lap on a 27.0 as we now complete lap 9 of 24, 22, each 28. Almansa from Quiles, both in the 26s, 26.9 personal best for Quiles. They're the only two riders in the 26s, another 4/10 pulled out over Morelli.
Looks like we already have a bit of a theme emerging in this year's Moto3 World Championship, already stepping up and showing that they are going to be potentially the two top dogs in this year's Lightweight World Championship. Almansa and Quiles demolished the field over in Buram 3 weeks ago. At the moment, they're threatening a big repeat here. Quiles then, just as he did so much of that Thai Grand Prix, sitting behind Almansa, working out the strengths and weaknesses of this fellow Spaniard ahead of him. He's not going to want to lose out though on another head-to-head against Almansa here, is he? Late on, we have still got 15 laps to go. Long old race here in Brazil. 24 laps. It's going to bide his time. Got to be patient here, Quiles.
Yeah, is Quiles just going to be content sitting there to let Almansa do the heavy lifting, potentially try and keep something in reserve, particularly in terms of tyres for the latter stage of the Grand Prix. Nothing different in terms of tyre strategy between these two. Both are on the medium front, medium rear combination, Almansa and Quiles.
That gap now is up to 1.5 seconds between Quiles and Morelli. Morelli's got a 4/10 of a second breather, almost half a second breather back to Perrone. Sort of gapping out a little bit in the chasing pack. 3/10 then back to Adrian Fernandez in 5th place. Danish from the front row, still keeping himself firmly inside that top 6. Over the line we go then. Almansa and Quiles, 0.03 of a second between them on that last lap. 0.03 of a second between them at the end of 19 laps in Buram a couple of weeks ago. Nothing to split them once again here today.
Almansa favouring the middle of the racetrack on the way down to turn 1, whether that's just a line, whether he's thinking slightly defensively. He almost closed the door right in front of Quiles, who I think he's more than happy at the moment just to let Almansa do the work at the front of the field while they continue to gap the group behind. Carpe did a 27.0 on the last lap, and he was as fast as he is, but he's really boxed up in 8th place.
Yeah, Perrone's got a lot of trouble brewing behind him at the moment because Perrone and Fernandez have jumped all over his rear tyre, as you can see, and those two are dragging the likes of Danish, Salmela, Carpe along for the ride as well. Further down the order, Bader Batama starting from 4th. He's currently 10th out of Ariarte, Kelso, Gorman, Cruces and Ogden are in your point scoring places. Back at the front though, the gap now is over 2 seconds. It's crystal clear, isn't it? Once again, it's going to be just a simple showdown. 1 of 2 for the win here, surely now in Brazil already. We're only at the halfway point between Almansa and Quiles. 2 seconds clear now of Morelli.
And there are nearly a dozen riders in that battle for the final podium spot. Morelli in 3rd. That group extends all the way back to Brian Ariarte in 13th place. So Marco Morelli's got a major queue up behind him now, all looking to try and relegate him down the top 10.
Fascinating psychological battle this as well, isn't it, between Almansa and Quiles. Almansa will know, well, I got the measure of you last time when we went all the way down to the checker flag. Quiles will be thinking, well, I've spent so much time behind Almansa, I know exactly where he's from. This has been coming as Morelli then finally surrenders his place on the podium for now. He has been dropping back into the clutches of this big group hunting him down, and Perrone on the 73 bike goes through. So at the moment we've got our Buram podium repeat here. We've got Almansa, Quiles and Perrone your top 3.
Back with the Argentines for that final podium position, and swapping out in favour of the 73 Perrone. Look at Salmela trying to get involved there with Carpe and Fernandez up ahead. Carpe has taken that one on the 83 and straight at the inside then of Adrian Fernandez. Carpe looks like he's the rider with the pace in this chase group.
Yeah, Sam Manos impressive as well, isn't he? Just his second Grand Prix. His last lap was a 1:27 flat, which was very impressive pace, given the kind of track that he finds himself. He'll be helped by a little bit of a slingshot down the start-finish straight, dragging him over the line. There wasn't that on the inside curve there. Everybody seems to be out of shape already. We do know that even on these sort of 60 horsepower MoTo3 bikes, there's going to be tyre wear. It's going to be a big factor as Adrian Fernandez tries to get on the inside of Carpe. He's got the inside line. It was aggressive, it was clean. Lovely that by Fernandez. That's how you make a pass through 13 and 14. Fernandez then finds himself up in the fifth.
Carpe had two moments in two corners in the middle of that 10, 11, 12 complex. He gave Fernandez the run at it through 12 and into 13, the final real heavy braking zone on this circuit. Carpe trying to take that back again. Morelli moves another one. I think this might be setting the tone for the second half of Marco Morelli's Grand Prix as Adrian Fernandez takes four.
Head and shoulders above everybody else right now are Mantra Quiles. The pair of them back in the 26s. Quiles has just been pushed to his best lap of this Grand Prix so far as Carpe goes through on Morelli. Morelli's going the wrong way here, isn't he? He was, what, 4 or 5 seconds. Mansa has fluffed his lines. He can't believe it. He lies motionless in the gravel trap.
Ground on Almansa. It wasn't a front end. There was a high side for Almansa, and the pressure tells, and Quiles takes over the lead.
Oh, nothing he could do once that Pirelli rear tyre started spinning up underneath it. He was just along for the ride. Ejector seat pressed, unfortunately, for Almansa. He lost the pole sitter Esteban through 4 when he was in 3rd place earlier on. So there's been some big casualties through that turn 4. Big casualties all weekend going through that 4th corner. With the slipstream goes Carpe through on Peroni and now through on Fernandez, and the braking's over the 1st corner. Is he going to get it stopped? He runs a little bit wide. Fernandez will cut back to the inside. Line, so 3.5 seconds clear than now. As Quiles at the front just now. Test of his focus and concentration as he will now cruise surely to the victory and the World Championship lead.
Moment on the curve there for Danish. He's running in 8th place. It's Leopard versus Red Bull KTM, and Red Bull KTM Tech 3 in the front of this chase group. We've got Fernandez for Leopard, then we've got Peroni for Tech 3. The two Tech 3 bikes both in there with Sam Mallet behind Carpe's IO machine, and then we've got Pini, although he's just lost place to Morelli on the second of the Aspar bikes. Morelli not giving this one up without our almighty bike.
Just shows what constant pressure can do. Scott Ogden, unfortunately, has crashed out of this Grand Prix. Quiles was just constantly hounding, wasn't he, David Almansa? Never gave him a millisecond breather at all, just as we saw Marc Marquez and Fabio Di Giannantonio in the MotoGP sprint yesterday. On this occasion, it was Almansa that blinked. Let's hope he's okay, because it was, again, a big nasty high side that he suffered on the exit of that 4th corner. You can keep a track on your runaway race leader now, Quiles, in the top left-hand corner of the screens. But this is a real big battle. A whole bunch of riders here in contention for potentially 20 points in a 2nd place. It's being led by Fernandez. They're 4.1 seconds behind Quiles, but there's 1.6 seconds down from Fernandez to O'Gorman in 12th.
Big moment there on the brakes for Carpe. Once again, he's going to sail out wide and lose that back to Adrian Fernandez. This is really a test of Quiles' concentration now out at the front of the race, because he is miles quicker than anyone else out on the racetrack. The only rider with a prayer of stopping him, as the red flag has come out. Red flag with still 10 laps to go this Grand Prix, which is bad news for Max Quiles. His 4-second lead is wiped out.
Red flag then thrown on laps 15 of 24 here.
We'll get a restart. We are not at the 3/4 race distance point. That would have been lap 18. So Max Quiles is going to have to restart this one with his lead wiped out.
Lead, which at the end of lap 14 was ginormous. It was 4.1 seconds. The race will be restarted. 2/3 distance not completed. What? Max Quiles. There's nothing about the can't believe it, can they? And see if Moto Aspar. Quiles in cruise control there. It's going to be mighty frustrating. We've not any indication yet as to why the match may be. Scott Ogden had crashed a couple of minutes ago. We didn't get a replay of the brick going down either for CIP Green Power, so expect. until we get some concrete information. But the red flag, what we can say for certain is the red flag is for the premature ending to the initial running of that Brazilian Grand Prix.
Well, I guess it's one of the knock-on effects of such a short lap here. 8 kilometres of this circuit, that if we do have a crash with either a rider in the gravel trap or the circuit blocked by a bike or some gravel, they don't have much time, do they, to clear anything away? Just about a minute 30 seconds, minute 27 probably. Riders come right back round again. So yes, that was always going to happen. That is Almanza, who is absolutely distraught. I don't think his bike is there with him in the pits. He was a couple of laps behind, of course. So I don't think Almanza is going to be able to restart this Grand Prix. If he did, he'd have to start from the pit lane. Here's another look at the high side for Almanza. The rear lit up, and much like, of course, the crash earlier on the race for Esteban through turn 4, absolutely nothing that Almanza could do once the rear lit up.
And absolutely nothing as well to console him inside that Dynamo attack garage at the moment. He is beside himself. Been quite bully up until that point. That's the race is going to be restarted, and it's going to be a 5-lap dash, a 5-lap sprint. Max Quiles, 4.1 seconds clear of the check that I believe he was when the red flag was thrown. We had Fernandez second, Perone was third, Carpe was fourth, Rico Salmano was having a blinder, wasn't he? The Finn in fifth place, Pini was sixth, and there was Morelli, Uriarte, Danish and Pratama were inside the top 10. There is David Almanza on the left-hand side of the picture there, from the 125cc winner, Peter Ertel, just trying to offer some words of comfort, scant consolation right now for Almanza, for the ups and downs, the highs and lows of a professional Grand Prix motorcycle rider. The ultimate high was his first Grand Prix success in dramatic fashion in Buram 3 weeks ago. Flashing back down to earth quite literally with that massive high side out of the lead here in Goiânia.
It's a long, long season, 22 Grand Prix, so it's way too early to be talking about how serious that could be the World Championship for David Almanza, but we're already seeing a pattern emerge, as you mentioned earlier on, but it might well be Almanza and Quiles as the clear top 2 in this Moto3 World Championship, so an error that you can scarcely really afford to make. As you can see there, confirmation, race to be restarted for 5 laps. The grid will be based on lap 14's standing, so the grid will be Quiles, Fernandez, the rider just in picture there behind one of his crew members. Peroni will complete the front row of the grid in third. It will be Carpe, Salmela and Pini on row 2. Morelli, Uriarte and Danish will be your third row ahead of the top. Kelso, Gorman, O'Shea, Natani, Kruse. Fifth row then Batelli, Yamanaka, Mugli, Buchanan, Carraro and Jesus Rios. Almanza was 2 laps behind, of course, did not rejoin the racetrack. But he will not restart. to make the time back up again. So Quiles, having rocketed up the order from 11th up to the very front in next to no time at all, now will go from the very front. Scott Ogden, that's the bike that is remaining. Unfortunately, Scott Ogden is heading for the benefit for Czechia. We can see the wheels moving after the approach, which will be in a little bit of pain.
Yeah, the race interrupted just to ensure that Scott Ogden's crashed KTM could be recovered safely by the trackside marshals. He's gone just to the medical centre for a precautionary check. We are being told that Scott is perfectly okay, just probably a little bit rattled, a little bit beaten up. It's going to be a beautiful flight over to North America for a couple of our Moto3 riders. So you can see 3.5 minutes away from the pit lane opening. Lane restart procedure will be in effect. Well, David Almanza was dreaming of back-to-back victories to kick off 2026, wasn't he, when he fell heavily at turn 4 out of the lead. Let's hope he's okay. Let's get some thoughts from Licky Molicano at the tap box, Jürgen Ringelchen.
Yeah, obvious frustration down here in the Liqui Moly Intact GP box. Heartbreak for David. Jürgen, did he explain what happened exactly?
No, I didn't talk to him yet. He just hindsight. Of course, he was pushing to the limit because Maximo, he knows he's behind him and he felt very good. So he was pushing. And finally this can happen, and I think also it's also a consequence of not enough track experience. It's quite difficult for everyone, but he did so far very well and he felt good, but these things can happen. He was on the limit.
We could see his emotion afterwards. How important it's your job now to tell him he was there once again, both Max and him, and managed to break away, and the season is still very long.
Of course, I think he will understand after a few hours. I think we can talk to him and he will understand, and fortunately next week we continue and this will help also. So it's better to continue immediately as have a big break after, but I think he will be okay next week.
Thanks, Jürgen, appreciate it. And just whilst I've got you as well, guys, had a quick word with some of the Pirelli technicians. Similar situation to what we had after the Moto2 red flag back in Thailand. The vast majority of the grid, given that it's a 5-lap dash, are, if they have one in their allocation, swapping to the soft rear tyre, a brand new soft rear tyre. Max Quiles in particular, 100%, he will have a brand new soft into his machine. I'll try and keep an eye to check of the main contenders who else has got a brand new soft, but it seems as the vast majority of the grid will do that.
It's very much, Jack. The Moto3 team has probably been helped a little bit by the inclement weather here on Friday, where there was not a lot of slick tyre running. Didn't get through much of their allocation. So Max Quiles gets to do all the hard work over again, 80 seconds away from the pit lane opening. Good to hear from Jürgen, and good to hear him come and talk to Jack there, just to offer his thoughts on David Almanza's crash. And he's back on the money when you are pushing on the absolute limit, when you're on the ragged edge at this level of World Championship motorcycle. Racing. Mistakes can happen, you can get caught out. It has happened to the very best. It happened to David Almanza again, but as Jürgen Ling said, he doesn't have to doesn't have too long to stew on it, doesn't have too long to dwell on it. He'll be back in action, of course. It's 5 days' time. The Circuit of America's not in Texas, where he can right the wrongs of today.
He's trying to keep cool in that spar box. He's got 40 seconds before he can jump on that bike and get back out again. This is the layout hard Honda. We've got a brand new rear tyre on. Fernandez is Honda. We just saw it spear out a shot. He and Alvaro Carpe, who starts second and fourth, because we're in qualifying 1 yesterday evening. So if anyone does have a new tyre, they're perhaps the likeliest candidates for that. And of course, as Matt rightly mentioned, we were short on dry running on Friday morning. They did the entire third session of the weekend on wet tyres. So I would imagine the vast majority, if not all the field, will have new rubber available to them, and it will be, as Jack rightly says, soft rubber. It's a 5-lap restart. Very good use of experience there for Jorge Martinez thus far, just taking that moment for the football over just to calm Max Givers down and remind him of his responsibilities and remind him what's ahead of him. Back to Jorge Martinez thus far is now in pit lane.
Yes, it is indeed. Jorge, you just had the chance to speak with Max just before we went out. What did you say to him?
The problem is before with more than 4 seconds distance, but now with only 5 laps, soft tire is, I think it's very complicated now. But anyway, with a very good race for sure.
When he left then, did you tell him be calm in the 5 laps?
Yeah, with the problem this track is very particular. It's more hard, the braking is more slow. It might necessarily very smooth for the many continuous corners, no? As I speak, please, calma.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Jorge Martinez Aspar. I tell you what, good luck, Jorge, trying to tell a Moto3 rider to approach any Grand Prix car, let alone what is now a 5-lap dash. This is going to be one of the shortest Moto3 Grand Prix, one of the shortest Grand Prix we've ever had in history. Here's your grid then. Quiles, Fernandez, Bronek is your front row. Three standings as it was at
just could not string the lap together.
transfer ke
It's just all about him managing his own levels of focus and concentration. So back on the starter's orders once again. This revised grid, pole position that initially went to Joel Esteban. He's not in this restart. Now on pole position is the 28 bike of Max Quiles. Adrian Fernandez slots in second place. That's 10 places higher up than, well, both Quiles and Fernandez have moved up 10 places compared to where they initially started this Grand Prix. First and second from 11th and 12th respectively. Rone, well, he's had to drop back 1 place, still in the front row, but second down to third. So here we go then here in Guyana. Moto3 take to
minutes ago. That looks like Salmela and Peroni trying to barrel up the inside. Peroni takes a very brief second place, and we've got a pile up further back with what looks like Rios and Vettelli.
It is. Matteo Vettelli had a right whack on the head there. Matteo Vettelli, as they went through turn 4, that we always kind of felt was inevitable. Everybody's hungry to make up early places in this 5-lap sprint here. Keeler sprinting away at the front of it as well as he runs wide through the blue paintwork there. No track limits problem there for Keyless.
Yeah, he's just getting his head down there and just pulling away at the front of the field again. That's a big move up the inside there, but what looks like Pratama trying to make up some early ground. So the top 2 unchanged. Carpe now holds third. Pini's made some big progress. He's up 2 spots.
Keyless does not want this to be a big battle, does he? Just go, I'm out of here, guys. I'm checking out. I don't want to be involved in any kind of late shenanigans. I'm just head down, full gas here, and just trying to put a bit of daylight between himself and the chasing pack. Here we go then. We're just about to tick off this first of 5 in the shortened Grand Prix of Brazil. The incident between Rios and Vettelli will be looked at after this short Grand Prix. Keeler's then almost half a second clear of Fernandez as we start lap 2.
Yeah, it looks like Carpe's the one with the pace here in this chase group. Carpe straight through into second place. Sal Mello is trying to make a move on Pini there. Look at that. Fernandez never arrived to be pushed around, is he? This is all playing to the hands though of Keyless.
You've got no time to build up any kind of rhythm here. Have you build up any kind of pace? You've just got to get your head down and go gung-ho for it. Through 4 we go. Keyless still, what, 4/10 of a second he is clear of Fernandez. He's built up that nice little buffer here. What Keyless needs behind him is this little battle to really start to tough it out. Carpe darts to the inside line on Fernandez. Bit of payback there as they go through 5 and 6.
Yeah, Carpe clearly feels that he's got the pace to at least get after Keyless. Let's have a look further back, looking for the yellow snipers Honda of Rios. He's on the inside there and straight up to the inside and scooping up Matteo Vettelli. I think the stewards will be looking particularly in Jesus' direction for that one.
Well, Matteo Vettelli, who this time last year, of course, was celebrating his very first career podium over at Austin, and then he had a career-threatening leg injury and a training accident. Nightmare year for Vettelli. Here is Keyless then. There's now a huge daylight between himself and the chasing pack. He's not going to let the victory slip away this time around, is he, Mats Keyless? Last lap heartache for him over in Buram a couple of weeks ago, but over the line now, he's 8/10 of a second clear of Fernandez. Fastest ride on circuit though, his Aspar teammate Morelli on the 97 bike with a 1:26.252. And Morelli on the inside of what, 4 or 5? Absolutely awesome that by Morelli, using all the top speed of that KTM in the slipstream. He has gone up into, well, he came on the line in 5th. He's now 2nd.
Fernandez gobbled up. He dropped back to 5th. As a result of that, it's the layup under Pini, who's next along as Carpe back up the inside. Sal Mello also handing out further punishment to Adrian Fernandez, who's now 6th.
This has been class, this by Keyless. Just made sure from pole position he nailed the start. It was a perfect launch away by Keyless. And now he can just run his pace, run his braking markers, run his own lines. Hasn't got to worry about anybody dive bombing him on the inside. There's no threat of a slipstream behind him down the long start finish straight. At the moment, tactically, this has been a masterclass by Keyless.
We saw before the start got underway, Jorge Martin Gaspar looking to a higher power for some support. He's getting in at the moment with a 1 and 2, and Morelli is charging off after his teammate here with, well, essentially we're at half distance. It's come down by 1/10 on this lap. It's now 6/10 between the Aspar team, and you can see visibly Morelli's bolted away from this chase group and off towards his teammate.
We said pre-race that this was a window opportunity. A big opportunity for some riders to create some big headlines for themselves in this round 2 in Brazil. Over at the line we go. 26.3 from Morelli in 2nd place. Was 4/10 faster than Keyless ahead of him. He couldn't.
This is not over at the moment, far from it, as Pratama now getting involved. That's the battle of the rookies for 5th. He's through on Rico Salmella, just up ahead of them are Pini and Carpe. They're 4th and 3rd. What can Marco Morelli do? Of course, not a lot of time to try and close that down. We've got a lap and 3/4 remaining. The advantage is half a second.
Pratama aggressive on the inside of Pini. That was real hard. He just lifted up Pini as they went through turn 4, and Pini dropped behind Carpe as well there. So Pratama back up into P4. This is where he started the Grand Prix. Well, feels like an awful long time ago now, but he really did pick up Pini there.
Real opportunity for a podium here. If he can get on terms with Carpe just up ahead of him. Fernandez back in 8th place now. Peroni's also not got the best of this shorter restart. Peroni's back in 7th.
As you can just see the Aspargio move out of your picture now. We picked them up out of this final turn. It's Quiles then who will come over the line ahead of Morelli. We are on the last lap here of this 5-lap sprint. Quiles is trying to respond here. He's just done a 1:26.589. His best lap in the Grand Prix, but he was still 2/10 slower than Morelli behind him.
Oh, you can see how hard Quiles is pushing as well. He had a bit of movement on the front end there into the first corner. Yellow flags are out there at turn 1, but Quiles wasn't exactly under any pressure anyway. But has he got enough time here? And because it's such a short lap, has Morelli got the option on this final lap to A, catch Quiles and then pass it?
And here is Patama, who made this brilliant aggressive move on the last lap. Oh, block pass on Carpe going through 4. We might be on course for history here. Never has an Indonesian rider was turn 13. He was 0.8 of a second clear. Is he going to hold on and get it over the line? We're into the final 2 corners now. Quiles, all he has to do is pick up the throttle at the perfect moment, get the drive given. Surely he will hold on over the line. We're going right trying to get off some slipstream, but he's going to run out of time. Max Quiles wins a 5-lap sprint in Moto3 here in Brazil, and we do have history. Max Quiles takes his first win of the season, and for the first time in Grand Prix history, in our 78th year, Vader Patama is the first Indonesian rider ever to finish on a Grand Prix podium. We sent him Buram. Remember the name. Look at him celebrating there in the background on the number.
It's 5 laps and not 6 because his rookie teammate Marco Morelli very nearly caught him on that. Last lap, so an Argentine on the podium here in South America. A first podium for both Morelli and Patama. A glimpse into the future of Moto3.
Jack, thanks to Honda Team Major Boss Hiroshi Oyama. Batama's 5th place in Buran was the best ever result in a Grand Prix by an Indonesian rider. Well, it just keeps getting better and better and better. Who knows what lies in store for Batama? But quite clearly, I mean, this young kid is some talent, a proven race-winning talent in the Red Bull MotoGP Rookies Cup, Asia Talent Cup champion in 2020 Championship. Well, the ATC has unearthed yet another gem, hasn't it? Vader Batama. What a day for Southeast Asian talent. What a weekend. Hakim Danish, of course, the Malaysian, starting initially on the front row grid. And now Vader Batama, the Indonesian. His first World Championship podium in just his 2nd Grand Prix start. One to watch, folks, for the future.
It's Morelli, of course, who takes 2nd in the championship. He finished up ahead of Batama. He won't give a shot about that at the moment, will Vader. He will just be enjoying a first visit to the Grand Prix podium, the first of what are going to be several visits to a Grand Prix podium. He is the real deal, make no mistake about that, as is Max Kilos, congratulated by the MotoGP World Champion Marc Marquez. There was a reason so many picked Max Kiles as the runaway World Championship favourite. We will never know ultimately whether he would have beaten David Almanza this afternoon had Almanza kept running, but that's the name of the game. Almanza crashed while under that intense pressure. That denied him the opportunity to restart, and Max Kiles took full advantage.
Yeah, and Kiles will feel like justice has been served when the red flag came out after the Scott Ogden crash. He was 4.1 seconds clear of anybody else on circuit. Mario Adji ahead of the Moto2 race congratulating Vader Batama. Well, this is so sweet. The first ever Indonesian rider on a Grand Prix podium. Vader Batama with Jack.
Vader, what a ride. In only your 2nd Grand Prix, you are onto the podium and you become the first rider from Indonesia to ever do it. How much does this mean?
No, incredible. Today, I did a really good job. Even before the red flag, I struggled in the race to manage the rear tire, but yeah, finally I finished top 3 in my 2nd Grand Prix, and it was my biggest achievement right now. So yeah, for sure, I want to say thank you so much for all the Indonesian people and all the Indonesian people and all the sponsors, my family who watch in Indonesia, and yeah, thank you very much. It's incredible.
Huge congratulations.
Thank you.
There are millions. And millions of MotoGP fans right now that are watching that special moment in Grand Prix history. This was the key move. He made a couple of really hard moves into that turn 4. That was on Carpe late on. And at that stage, Vader Batama was dreaming of the podium, but he's proved that dreams do come true. Honda Team Asia celebrating a moment of Grand Prix history. Marco Morelli on the podium in 2nd place. But at one stage, he's going to hunt down Max Kiles for the win. Let's get the thoughts of Morelli with Jack.
Marco, what a performance that was. That 5-lap dash was right up your street. I'm sure you were praying that actually it was 6 laps because your pace was phenomenal. Where did that come from to catch Max like you did?
Yeah, well, we did a fantastic job during the weekend. We felt quite well with the bike, and in the FP2 we work a lot this, no? So the feeling was good, but the problem is when we start the first race, let's say, I was not feeling well on the back. I lose the grip in the 2nd lap already, and was super difficult to manage, no? But to be honest, it was a bit of luck. Had the red flag for me, and we put the new tire on the back, and was completely different. And this was the pace I had during all the weekend, no? Obviously, I pushed not 100%, maybe 200%, because have a Maximo in front was super difficult to catch. I did it, but it's not only catch, it's also pass. And to be honest, he's a fantastic rider, so he put the race so difficult. But first podium, I'm super happy also for the Argentinian flag. Here close to the country, and yeah, I'm super happy, and thank you for all the team.
Brilliant ride, congratulations.
Thank you.
Indonesian fans are thrilled with Bader Pertama. Argentina fans here in South America are going to be delighted with Marco Morelli's performance. He was not even a tenth and a half away from being the first Argentinian in history ever to win a lightweight world championship race. You feel, based on that performance, his time will certainly come. But Marc Marquez knows just how good that performance was by Max Quiles to keep his cool, keep his composure in that 5-lap sprint from pole position, putting behind the disappointments of the red flag, which cost him a 4.1 second lead. He's back on the top step of the podium once again. His first win of 2026. Max Quiles, your winner with Jack.
Max, huge congratulations, the first win of 2026, bouncing back from Thailand. I'm sure you were bitterly frustrated to see the red flag, so how did you regain your concentration, and how did you hold off your teammate who was charging up towards you in those final laps?
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed because of the red flag, but hopefully everybody was okay. So yeah, I say I'm going to try to push that. I felt really good behind Almanza. And yeah, that's what I did from the beginning. I pushed as hard as I can. I did some greens to gain some speed, you know, and it was great, you know. I'm really happy for Marco that it's his first podium, as well for Veda, a really good friend of me, for the first podium. I'm so happy. Yeah. Samba do Brasil.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Some samba celebrations, I'm sure, coming from our race winner Max Quiles. And like he said there, he's such a gent, isn't he? Such a sportsman, offering his congratulations to debut podium finishers for Morelli and Pertama. He knows the emotions that those two are going through right now, having secured his first podium in the World Championship last year. He was riding brilliantly, as he said. He felt comfortable, he felt okay, felt good in the groove in that initial run behind Almanza. Whatever Jorge Martinez Aspar's instructions were to both Quiles and Morelli before that 5-lap dash, well, there were some words of wisdom, weren't they, from the boss, as they celebrate a 1-2 for CF Moto. Gabriel Aspar.
Day for his squad so far, hasn't it? They are 1 and 2 on the grid for the upcoming Moto2 Battle 2 and 1-2 at the end of Moto3.
Well, just as it was over in Thailand, it's a golf buggy trip back to the podium. Guido Pini. He's had a very productive Sunday, a very productive day on the Leopard Honda after yesterday's 16th place on the grid in qualifying. A couple of big old crashes as well this weekend for Pini. He comes out of it with a 5th place. He was only just over a tenth of a second actually behind Pertama. Pertama, as mentioned, he was really hanging on at the end for that podium. There was Carpe, there was Pini, there was Salmela that were right in the hunt behind him. Good ride in that top 6. Pini 5th, Salmela's first, top 6. Good weekend, a very solid weekend for the Finnish rider. Max Quiles is part of the Marc Marquez, Alex Marquez stable, which tells you everything you need to know about the talents of that young man. 18 years of age, a crash at turn 6 in Q2, a red flag when he was 4.1 seconds clear of the field. Nothing though seems to knock Quiles out of his drive, out of his focus, as he takes victory. Our first Grand Prix winner in Brazil in 22 years. Especially coming up from the team major, and a very special podium indeed, given the historic significance of it.
Jorge Martinez Aspar wants to take in every moment of this with both of his young talents alongside him on the podium. 3rd place. Get used to this feeling, Vader. You're going to be doing this a lot in your Grand Prix career. A first podium for Indonesia in Grand Prix racing and in Moto3 for Bader Pertama. 2nd for Argentina and Aspar is Marco Morelli. So close there, wasn't he? To mugging his teammate on the line, but nothing was going to deny Max Quiles today. All sorts thrown at him. The hot early pace of David Almanza. The red flag, which brought his 4-second runaway lead to a screeching halt. Despite all of that, he stood tall. Fernando Menezes, the marketing manager of our event sponsors, Estrella Galicia, the constructor prize. To be Jorge Martinez on Spa today. It has been the perfect Sunday so far for him. With Moto2 qualifying earlier on this morning, going the way of his two riders, his two Moto3 stars, triumphant in the shortened 5-lap scrap. How must this feel for young Vader Pratama, just 17 years of age? We already said that he was the most talented rider to emerge from Indonesia, a MotoGP mad nation. Now he has a podium finish to back up all of the talent and all of the promise. Because Marco Morelli, who of course was a front runner, a runner-up last year in the Junior World Championship. He's now second in the Moto3 World Championship after P2 today. So many expected Max Quiles to dominate this Moto3 season. He's a long way from doing that. We're just at round 2, but certainly a statement of intent for Quiles. He put the pressure on Almanza. He then cracked, and he withstood the pressure from his teammate Marco Morelli to take a first victory of 2026.
A Prosecco shower from his two riders on the podium. A memorable day for the Valencia-based team as Quiles takes the win in a Grand Prix which will go down the record books. It's a 5-lapper which had a race-winning time of just 7 minutes, 2.8 seconds. Max Quiles won't care, and neither will Vader Pratama or Marco Morelli. Vader Pratama on the podium in just the second Grand Prix. Got your ticket for Mandalika yet? Oh, you might want to hurry up and get one based on what we've just seen here in Brazil today, because they have been craving for so many years to have one of their own, challenging for honours in the Grand Prix paddock. Of course, we have to pay testament to the Asia Talent Cup system, the Road to MotoGP programme, which has helped pretty much every rider in the current Moto3 World Championship get into this position where they can showcase their skills on the biggest stage of all. And Vader Pratama, Marco Morelli and Max Quiles are taking full advantage. Quiles, your winner here in Brazil.
The conditions for the Moto3 race have lasted long, but won't they? He'll be taking top billing there. Vader Pratama on the podium behind an Aspar 1-2. Quiles from Morelli. Pratama, a historic first podium in third ahead of Alvaro Carpe, who was denied on the final lap. Pini fifth ahead of Rico Salmela. Shout out for him in just his second Grand Prix, taking 6th ahead of his teammate Valentin Peroni, who went back to 7th in the front row. Fernandez 8th from O'Gorman and Danish. Uriarte 11th ahead of Kelso Truesend, Yamanaka, and another World Championship point. Second Grand Prix now for Eddie O'Shea. 18 finishes, of course, 4 of those did not restart. Esteban, and of course, notably Almanza, crashed before the restart. Almanza, of course, was leading. Max Quiles, though, now leading the World Championship as a result of that. 45 points from a possible 50, and already 17 clear of his teammate Marco Morelli. Pratama up to third. Carpe stays fourth. Of course, leapfrogs Almanza, who drops 4 places today, having crashed it from the lead. Peroni also dropped down the order. He's now 6th. KTM, of course, leading the constructor standing by 23 points. Vader Pratama, of course, has been top Honda in both Grand Prix so far. And in the team standings, CF Moto Aspar with a 33-point cushion already over Red Bull, KTM, IO. Dynavolt dropped 3 places today, having not scored with their one rider who travelled here to Brazil. Have some highlights. Of course, this was the first restart of this Brazilian Grand Prix. We made 14 laps in before we had to call halt the proceedings. Joel Esteban going from a maiden pole position in the Moto3 class. Roller coaster few laps he had, initially dropping back from the lead that he carried into the first corner. Really been beaten up was the young Catalan on the first lap. He led to storm through from 11th place on the grid to take the lead. David Almanza, who started even further back, he was 14th when the Grand Prix began. He then took the running at the front. That was on a charge mission back up the order until that moment. Violent high side for the pole sitter, took him out of the proceedings just to get back into the podium spots. Top. Streaking clear. Peroni holding third place, but the leading pair were some 4 seconds off the road. Came just one as Almanza high-sided coming out of turn 4, losing any hope to challenge Quiles for a second victory out of 2. The crash for Scott Ogden just a couple of laps later, the race was halted. Almanza though ineligible to take part in the 5-lap sprint. Quiles started exactly where he left the previous incarnation of this Brazilian Grand Prix, storming into a fairly comfortable lead at the back of the race behind him for second place. Rios and Bertelli though wouldn't make it past turn 4 at the restart. Matama launching his bid for a first career podium with a move on the last lap to take Carpe. While this was going on, the Aspar duo were closing together with Morelli launching a late challenge to try and deny Max Quiles' victory. Yeah, there was little to separate them out of the final quarter, but Quiles had it up in hand to take his first victory of 2026. Made up podiums for both Morelli and Pratama right behind him. History made in Moto3 in Brazil. Quiles, though, takes your World Championship lead as we head to Austin next weekend. Of course, the place where Quiles made his debut last year. Moto2 is on the way next.